so that you can live on.
His time has expired.
Mr.
I call
Speaker.
Kevin Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to rise on behalf of my colleague Jan Logie to take a call on this bill. Can I begin, sir, as some others have done this afternoon, by wishing Roland a happy birthday. Speaking of getting older, the Green Party will continue to support this bill and to vote for it at third reading. We believe it's a sensible change, or a sensible couple of changes. In particular, what it does, I think, is adds to administrative efficiency, which is something that I think we could all support in government department services, but also it adds to flexibility. It's sensible to collapse these two categories of assistance into a single one, and to make payment of that automatic rather than requiring some process. And as Sam Lotu-Iinga referred to, the reality is that many of those who needed these payments and who were eligible for them were missing out because they didn't know that they needed to apply, and nobody told them about them. So it's a sensible measure, as I say. It's, I think, a little frustrating that the government didn't agree to the changes that were proposed by Jacinda Ardern in the committee stage, which would have increased the flexibility that this bill actually provides by addressing one of the other aspects of the situation of these older people living alone in relation to the dependents. So it's frustrating the government chose not to take up that opportunity to actually better realise the principle that was motivating this bill in the first place. I think the other point that I would make is that the complexity of the process around living alone payments that this bill seeks to address, and the situation of people who are eligible for and entitled to assistance are not being made aware that such assistance is available, is not isolated to this situation. And it would be good to see government moving to address those problems more broadly. Next point I want to make, sir, is in relation to the timetable. This bill has been a long time coming to its third reading. The Select Committee reported back to the House on the 15th of April 2011. The Select Committee's report actually had amended the bill to change the commencement date to the 6th of July 2011. Here we are, 2 years later, practically, with a pretty straightforward bill, a pretty straightforward set of changes. And Mr. Speaker, I wonder whether the incredibly slow progress of this bill is indicative of a lack of urgency around addressing this kind of problem. I think that would be sad if indeed better addressing the income security needs of older people were a low priority for the government. I want to just briefly reflect, as we do sometimes in third readings, on some of the context to our income support for older people. In particular, to quote Michael Joseph Savage, actually, from the 1930s, as New Zealand's social support mechanisms were largely being created for the first time. He said, the honourable gentlemen, they were in those days, on the opposition benches, want to turn back the clocks. I want to know why people should not have security in the evening of their days. What is there more important in Christianity than to be our brother's keepers in reality? And so I think Savage's words have motivated a spirit in New Zealand in all of those intervening years of commitment to supporting our older people. And this bill that we sign into law today is a good step towards enhancing and consolidating the support that we provide for older people. In general, we have a good record of keeping older people out of poverty. But, sir, the last point that I want to come to in this contribution to the third reading is that we don't, in fact, follow that principle through to other groups who are in need. And, Mr. Speaker, while we pass this into law, we have some 270,000 children in this country living in poverty. And, Mr. Speaker, as Jan Logie said in the first reading of this bill, when will this House, when will this government turn the same attention and the same principles, the good principles that sit behind this bill, to addressing the needs of children who live in poverty, to addressing the greatest support to those who have the greatest need? That's what the Green Party stands for. Mr. Speaker, we continue to support this bill. We'll vote for it.
Melissa Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.